זהו, טוב לראות את כולם, ובואו נתחיל. I streamed. Okay.
Okay, great. So good morning, everybody. I hope you're okay. And so I thought what we start with this morning is these 20 verses of Nagarjuna, because as we said yesterday, motivation, dedication is really important. So for me, it's one of the, it's one of the most perfect, I don't like to call it prayer, but kind of practice, because it's also good to contemplate on it, not just to recite it. And it has so many, for me, very nice aspects of kind of wishes. So it can be used as a motivation, but it can also be used as a dedication. So it's a bit lengthy, but we will stop in the middle maybe and to reflect on a few things. And that will then that will serve as the meditation and as the motivation. But before we start with that one, because I have to find it and open it actually. Then, which is sit again for a few minutes and to generate some gratitude that we're still alive, because yesterday we talked about death, that we can die, anytime, and when we wake up in the morning, that we can really think, wow, amazing, I'm still alive. And I can just continue with this path. I don't have to start all over again as, being in the womb, then being born, being a baby. By the way, the baby is born, Ayala's baby is born, it's a girl, and everything went very fast and very quick. So I think that's also thanks to your good thoughts. So thank you very much for that. Leora was very happy and very excited and very, very relieved also. Yeah, because giving birth is not such an easy thing, as many of you might know. Has always quite a lot of tension and fear, and it's a lot of suffering the way we come into this world. So we don't have to go through this right now. At one point we will have, but for the moment we're just very grateful that the body still is working more or less okay, so that we can participate in this. We connect with the body, we feel it, we experience it. We don't identify with it, but still this is the body. So again, very important is to relax it, mentally almost, not so much physically, but mentally, by doing a body scan, starting, what do they have sometimes? It's called CALM, C-A-L-M. So it's kind of the chest, C. As you breathe in, you're totally experiencing what's going on there, especially if you feel some tightness or heaviness. As you breathe out, you become very spacious, very open. Down to the smallest cells in the body, like little flowers opening when the sun shines on them with each out breath. There we go. A is arms. So you become conscious, you become aware of your arms. You start with your shoulders, you sweep down to your hands, and same thing. As you breathe in, you experience the sensations directly. As you breathe out, you become open and spacious. If you get lost, just come back to your arms and hands. Body is a very good object of mindfulness because it's very easy to find. And so it's good to train to be mindful with the body. It's good to have it as an object because it's quite big, it's quite gross. It's, as I said, very easy to find. And the object for your mindfulness meditation doesn't really matter so much. The main point is that you can hold it easily, find it easily, hold it easily, be at ease with it. And go down to your legs, so you can start actually at the abdomen, the lower back, your bum, genital area, then down the legs to your feet until your toes. Same thing. As you breathe in, you experience the sensations. There's always something going on. And you know, sensations can be just the contact with either your chair or the ground if you're sitting on the floor or your cushion. You don't need to judge the sensations, but you need to be aware of it, because that's the second object of mindfulness, is sensations. And the M, I think the M of calm, I think it means mouth, but we're doing the whole face because there we're holding a lot of small tensions. So you move all the way back up like a scanner. And you come to your face and you pay attention to especially your eyes, your front, your cheeks, your mouth, even your ears, back of your head, top of your head, neck, throat. You can go bit by bit. Again, what kind of sensations are there? Very often there's a tingling. Especially at the top of your head. And the tensions, which are, you know, jaws, eyes, lips, maybe even sometimes we press together. And that could be like the third object of mindfulness, which is our mind state or the emotions, because very often the emotions express themselves on our face. So if we relax the face, we can also relax our anger. But if we're not aware that the face is not relaxed, then the tension in the heart about the anger cannot relax. So you can, you know, when the body sits in a relaxed way, you can look at the state of your mind. And maybe notice the moment you relax the body, also the mind becomes quite spacious, open, calm. Doesn't have to, so don't force anything, please. Do not fake anything. You don't have to be calm in your mindfulness. We just observe, become the observer. You don't really need to kind of, you know, with this attitude, being a better person, being more this or less that. It's like we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves, even in our meditation. This here is just to notice, to know directly, unmistakably. And then because of our innate intelligence, we let the mind, when it's calm and clear, do, then it knows what to do. So as I said, you might have noticed that maybe, doesn't have to be, when we relax the body, the mind also becomes, takes on a different, I don't know how to say, texture, feel, taste, color. And that's the main point of our practice, that we know what's going on in the mind. And then without any pressure, without any judging, either it will transform itself or we can use thoughts to do that, like we did at the beginning, being grateful that we are still alive. Being grateful that we're not alone. We have so many good connections. I also have difficult connections, I do admit, but in general, if you count all the people who don't harm you as a good connection, even if it's just meeting on the bus and we don't know them, then we have plenty of good connections. If we count all the people who work quite hard to do their jobs properly so that we can have the life that we have, all the objects that we consume, all the doctors, dentists, pharmacists, and so on, to make sure that our body is healthy. When we take these or we count those amongst our connections, wow, there's so many connections. Good connections. So there again, having this gratitude, being grateful that people do their job properly. Don't think about those who don't do their job properly. This is immediately, the ego comes up with this, It's quite amazing. And think about all the people who do their job properly, then maybe the plumber jumps up, which made the bill too big, or didn't do his job properly. One person amongst all the others that seems to have so much importance. So leave that one aside, and you think about all the other ones and say thank you. Maybe you touch your clothes. So many beings involved in producing them, and we just say thank you. Maybe you had coffee or tea this morning. Thank you. Mother Earth is producing what we need to survive, our food, our nourishment. Thank you. And when we think about direct connections, people that allow us to love them, to like them, to be together with them. Wow, thank you. People that love us, see us, hear us, understand us, are concerned about us. Thank you. So then when we think about, just thinking in this life, we have connections to so many beings. And when we think that our mind has been existing since beginningless times, that means we have had connections with everybody that has a mind. Not just once, but many times, because we've had billions and trillions of lifetimes, because there's no beginning to the mind. If we don't accept this fact, or if you can't work around it, then that's fine. You should think about this life. But if we think in terms of beginningless lifetimes, you know, not just 100, not just 1,000, not just 1,000,000, uncountable lifetimes. Wow. So then the fourth object of mindfulness is what is called phenomena. So it goes into, you know, how the world exists and what the Buddha taught, like Four Noble Truths and so on, like our 5 contaminated aggregates, Four Noble Truths, and, you know, 12 dependent links, all this. So we can think a little bit of our present existence. That's what we will be talking about today. Is it as satisfactory as we wish to? Are we exactly the way we would like to be? Are things going the way we want them to go? So when we look at the first noble truth, as the Buddha says, an unenlightened existence. Unenlightened means being under the control of this being reborn again and again and again, under the control of afflictive emotions, especially wrong use. That's what means an unenlightened existence. So he says, no matter where you go, no matter where you look, no matter where you live, you will encounter problems. You will not be satisfied. As long as we don't have control over our mind, it means as long as we are controlled by our afflictive emotions, we create causes for more suffering. So, you know, we do and try and make, and still the world doesn't do what we want the world to do. We have all these hopes, we have all these fears, but we're looking in the wrong place to solve the problem. So on one hand, it's kind of bad news because we cannot just wait until the problems are solved. We have to do it ourselves. And we have to solve the problem not outside, but we have to fix the mind, not to fix the world. So it gives us a lot of responsibility, but it also means we can do it. So now again, you know, how much do we trust our potential to eliminate the afflictive emotions by recognizing them? applying antidotes. And when I say, you know, to control our mind, I don't mean to suppress. I mean to recognize, to understand, to be aware, to know unmistakably and directly. So try to find out for yourself, to end the reflection, how can I nourish that confidence in my potential? How can I make it grow? How can I bring it to the surface? Is there another way than to apply these methods? Is there another way than to use these methods to become my own therapist? So then again, you know, we can experience or feel gratitude that we have access to these methods that somebody has found out who at one point was just like us, unenlightened, having to undergo birth, sickness, old age, death, birth again, being under the control of afflictive emotions, not finding what he wants, having what he doesn't want, meaning birth, sickness, old age and death, suffering, pain. Having been disturbed by that and really having looked very deeply to find the root cause, which he has found. He has ended his suffering and the causes of suffering. And then he was called the Buddha, an awakened being. And he's been teaching or just laying open these methods so that everybody who wants can apply them and become free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and the Buddha, fully awakened. Nobody has to become a Buddha, but everybody can. Okay, so this would be the attitude when we take refuge, right? Because I see many of you are Buddhists, so we can talk Buddhism, so that's nice. And my camera is gone again. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to show you the text. With the camera, I think. Yeah, it says Zoom cannot find any camera. I have an external camera and I have the internal camera, none of the words. But anyway, this is samsara, right? You want something, but doesn't. Okay. So I'll show you the text. This, I hope, will work. And then we can recite these very beautiful 20 verses. I find them really inspiring together. So it starts by saying, can you see the text, yeah? Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. So it starts by saying, therefore, each day, 3 times a day, before a stupa, before a statue, stupa, or elsewhere, you should perform the recitation of the following verses. So this is the verse of Refuge by Nagarjuna. Honoring in all ways the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and also the Bodhisattvas, I take refuge in them and pay homage to those worthy of homage. I turn away from all negativity and embrace all merit. I rejoice in all the merit amassed by all sentient beings. So this is what we did a little bit yesterday, like, knowing about karma, that we stop as much as we can performing negative actions. With bowed head and palms together, I beseech all perfect Buddhas to turn the wheel of Dharma and remain as long as beings remain. So we need to be open from our own side to receive the teachings. As we were looking, one feature of a perfect disciple is to yearn for teachings. So if you ask for something, then that's a clear sign that you really want it. So this is why this verse is here. So you also know this from the 7-limb practice. Through the merit of doing this and the merit I have done and will do, may all sentient beings be endowed with unsurpassed bodhicitta. So already here, he's made this decision. I'm not doing this just for myself. I'm doing this for all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have immaculate faculties and transcend the unfree states. May they control their own actions and live by right livelihood. So, control again. Control doesn't mean suppressing. Control is like there's no wish to do anything negative. It comes like naturally. That's what control means in Buddhist terms. For us, when we hear the word control, it's a little bit like, I don't need to make gestures because you can't see me. It's a little bit like, kind of going like that. May all embodied beings have jewels in their hand. May a limitless amount of all kinds of necessities remain inexhaustible for as long as cyclic existence endures. At all times, may all people born of low status become supreme persons. May all beings be endowed with intelligence and legs. So I don't know why the legs, but I guess, be human. May all beings have a good complexion and also a good physique. May they be radiant and pleasant to behold, free of illness. May they be strong and live long. May they gain expertise in skillful means and become free of all sufferings. May they be devoted to the 3 rare sublime ones and have the great treasure of Buddha Dharma, or any other method that really helps them to naturally not harm anybody and to naturally just help whatever they can, and not to make these divisions between my friend, my enemy, strangers. So these ones I help, these ones I harm, these ones I put aside and like. So this is what the Buddha Dharma is really all about. It's not to split. It's to create equanimity so that every being should have happiness. Every being should be free from suffering. And that's it's not unique, this is true, but there's a lot of stress on this to create that equanimous state. By not just because you have to do it, but by seeing that there's reason for doing this, because everybody has been kind to us, because we've had numberless lifetimes. So that's why. So there's not so, it's not so much, oh, I'm so noble, I care for all sentient beings. It's kind of, we owe it to them because we've been depending on them for our happiness, well-being, and survival since beginningless lifetimes. May all beings have a good complexion and also a good physique. May they be radiant and pleasant to behold, free of illness. May they be strong and live long. So this is, you know, creating love and compassion, being happy when they're beautiful and nice and radiant, and having the wish for them to be free from illness and suffering. May they gain expertise in skillful means and become free of all sufferings. May they be devoted to the three rare sublime ones and have the great treasure of Buddha Dharma. So sorry, I repeated these verses. May they be adorned with love, compassion, joy, the ability to remain equanimous in the face of hardship, generosity, ethical conduct, fortitude, joyous effort, meditative stability, and wisdom. Those are the 6 perfections. Thus adorned, may they complete all the collections and obtaining brilliant signs and marks. May they traverse without hindrance the 10 grounds to the inconceivable. May I also be adorned with these good qualities and all others as well. May I become free from all faults and may I attain supreme love for all beings. So first it was about others, now it's about himself. May I perfect the virtues to which all beings aspire, and may I always dispel the sufferings of all beings. In all worlds, may all beings who are feeling anxious due to fear become completely fearless merely by hearing my name. So it's kind of, he has the wish to become a Buddha. So the same way as when we think about the Buddha, or especially when we think about our Guru, yeah, the heart opens, and we feel totally different. Like the situation is still the same, but we feel more open and more courageous and more relaxed also. May I perfect the virtues to which all beings aspire, and may I always dispel the sufferings of all beings. In all worlds, may all beings who are feeling, again I repeat you, but it's okay, sorry. In all worlds, may all beings who are feeling anxious due to fear become completely fearless merely by hearing my name. Can you imagine, you know, if we would have an effect on all beings, like the Dalai Lama, for example? Wouldn't that be wonderful? If you see people's faces when they look at His Holiness, you know, it's no wonder we call him His Holiness, because he is whole. There's nothing missing there. And so that's what we want to aspire to, for beings to be beneficial just by existing, not necessarily having to do a lot. But it's not that he's not doing anything, but, you know. So it's good to experience sometimes also when you don't feel so well. Just look at the Buddha. Think about the methods of the Buddha. You know, if you have a statue, photograph, visualize. If that's not working so well, then look at your Guru if you have a Guru, or look or listen to His Holiness, and you see the effect that it will have on you. Most of the time, again, you know, these things are not miracle makers. A lot of it has to come from our own side. Then from seeing and thinking of me, and from merely hearing my name, may beings become clear-minded, undisturbed, and at ease. So it's good if you apply that to yourself. Yeah, if we generate these wishes in our heart, that this is what I want. This is making my life meaningful, so that it will be like this. And then again, you feel the effect. May it be definite that they will awaken, and in all their future lives, may they attain the 5 super knowledges. In all ways, may I always do what brings benefit and happiness to all beings. May I always dissuade all at once, all those beings of any world. May I intend to engage in negativity without doing them any harm. So who intend to engage in negativity without doing them any harm? Because I thought something is not quite right. I really like this verse. This is one of my favorite verses. Is kind of to have the wish to stop others from harming myself or others without doing them any harm. This is such a wholesome thought, because we all wish that others stop harming, and we all wish to be able to stop them harming others. But very often we do it with anger, and then we harm them and we harm ourselves. So I really, really like this verse. And the next ones too. Like the earth, water, wind, and fire, medicinal herbs, and to trees in the wilderness, may I always freely be an object of enjoyment by all beings as they wish. May I be beloved of beings, and may they be more beloved to me than myself. May I bear the results of their negativity, and may they have the results of all my virtue. A parent would have this attitude towards their children. So it means that we can do this. It's just that we are only able to do it for a few beings. But then the goal of the practice is to be able to do this for all sentient beings that we encounter. Then, of course, we can see then our problems are finished because there will be no attachment. You cannot be attached to all beings. You can be attached to your own children because you say, my children. But, you know, if we go with all beings, how are we going to be attached to all sentient beings? Because they're not mine also. They don't belong to me. As long as there is even one sentient being somewhere who is not yet free, may I remain in the world for that being's sake, even if I have attained peerless awakening. If the merit of making such statements were to be material, it would not fit into worlds as numerous as the grains of sand of the Ganges. This is what the Blessed One said, and the reason is here to be seen. The worlds of beings are immeasurable, and the intention to aid them is likewise. So this is the end of the Precious Garland, the text. So it's can be, as I said, it can be used as a dedication. It can also be used as a motivation. So what you can do, maybe if somebody has questions about this text or whatever, you can ask Valda, Elisheva, Yanai, or Reed, and others. I go out now because I don't know, I find it quite disturbing that you can't see me, because I think, you know, this is what the Zoom is for, that you can see the one who talks. So I'm going out and then close down the computer, come back again. Or you can maybe, Yanai, do you want to lead a small meditation, maybe already a little bit on compassion and love?
Maybe we'll do just a silent meditation.
Okay. Or you discuss, you know, you can discuss, or you can share what it does to your mind, to your own mind, when we read these verses, who come from somebody who is realized, like Nagarjuna, what it does to us. Does it put us under pressure? Does it inspire us? Is it good to use these words, or should we just make up our own motivation, or, you know, a little bit like that? Okay, bye. Hopefully the computer works to come back.
מישהו רוצה לחלוק לגבי מה שאנילה אמרה?
מישהו זוכר איזה מספר פסוקים היו בפרשס גרלנד? 400?
קרוב ל-490.
סליחה?
קרוב ל-490.
אוקיי, אני אחפש.
טוב, בשבילי זה היה מהר מדי. אני מתרגלת כבר הרבה שנים, אבל אני תרגלתי לא בצורה כזאת. אבל אני חושבת שהכי היה חשוב לי המשפט, המספר 483 ו-484, אני פשוט רשמתי את זה. זה שהיא אמרה שזה נפלא לשאוף שאחרים לא יפגעו באחרים, אבל אם אתה עושה את זה בכעס, אז אתה גם פוגע בהם וגם אתה פוגע בעצמך, וזה נכון, כי הרבה פעמים יש לנו כוונה טובה, אבל אנחנו באמת עושים את זה ככה בחוסר סבלנות ובכעס, אז זה משהו שצריך עושים. מבחינתי, זה משהו שאני מאוד רוצה לשים אליו לב.
תודה, דינה. עוד מישהו רוצה להגיד? אני רק אגיד שאני באופן כללי קצת, לא יודע למה, אני נורא עייף, אז גם המדיטציה וגם הטקסט הוא ככה, אני מרגיש כבדות כזאת בתודעה, אבל כל פעם שאני רואה את המילים האלה של החכמים העתיקים האלה, זה פשוט מעורר השראה, והמרחק ביני לבין המצב הזה, זה פשוט מפעים.
שמתי בצ'אט את הפרשס גרלנד, לפחות את הפרק הראשון, וזה מגיע למשפטים שלוסנג לה הקריאה, אז אפשר להוריד ולחפש. אולי אתה תוכל להעלות אותם, להגיע לעמוד ולהעלות את העמוד, לשתף אותו.
כן, רק רגע. זה הטקסט? כאילו זה המקום שהיא הייתה, נכון?
כן, לפי דעתי, ואולי, ואז זה ממשיך בעמוד הבא.
Oh, great, you found the text. Well, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, Varda found it for us.
Yeah, Valda is like, she's the champion in this. She's quite amazing, you know. So thank you, Valda. So you can just share it in the chat if you want, and then people can use it. You know, you don't have to do all the 20 verses. You can just take those, especially if we have to go somewhere, you know, where we know it will be difficult, and maybe there will be fighting, and maybe there will be a lot of tension, but we have responsibility. No responsibility with this one verse. May I be able to stop others from harming without harming them. So you're sure you're doing this with a good intention. Yeah. Okay, so we continue with the text, which I have to find again because I closed it down. I think I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. I mean here, yes, but because I was going to tell you I'm going to buy a new computer, and then it's always, oh, we're going to buy you a new computer. No, I will buy myself a new computer. You don't have to buy me one. It's okay. I just got like a really nice big donation from the Dharma Friends not long ago, so that's okay. I'll be okay. But I'll buy a new one maybe next week. So then this whole thing with the camera is solved. Okay, so the Lam Rim outlines here coming. Okay. Oh. Okay, today we will come a little bit to this here, you know, the mind. I know it says on the program yesterday, but I think, you know, because we're going to talk about afflictive emotions. So what we're going to look at today, especially, is these, you know, clearing up or what to do with these 4 misconceptions, seeing things that are by nature impermanent as permanent, seeing things that are in the nature of suffering as happiness, seeing things that are by nature impure as pure, and seeing a separate independent self of things. Because these misconceptions are, as long as we hold on to them and as long as we see them as true, then this is what is causing suffering. So what we did yesterday is like reflecting on the importance of the guru, then also reflecting on that we have precious human rebirth. Oh, it's gone again, isn't it? Reflecting on precious human rebirth, reflecting on impermanence and death. I'll try. No, it's not working. So maybe after the break, I'll put on the tablet, so then it will work. For the moment, you see Tara, which is quite okay, because as I said, it's more beneficial to see Tara than to see me. So, so what we did yesterday, reflecting on a guru, that we need teachings, we need somebody to tell us, because if we would know by ourselves, then we would be enlightened, we would have been enlightened long ago. So, so that's why we need somebody to tell us. So that can be, of course, it can be a book, it can be YouTube, somebody on YouTube. But we all know it's always best to have like oral transmission, being able to ask questions to your guru, so that you also know which practice to do or what is important, because otherwise we just choose whatever is most easy and so on. So then we need precious human rebirth, of course. And we need precious human rebirth, of course. And then we need to think about impermanence and death, so that we do something with it now and not later, or, you know, we kind of postpone it. Even sometimes people say, oh, this life, I have other things to do, then I'll do next life, but we don't know if we will have a next life. So then after that, meditating on impermanence and death, we prepare for death. And how do we prepare for death? Is by leading a good life. Leading a life so that we have nothing to regret at the time of death. And then we activate a positive seed, which then leads us to another good condition where we can continue to clear up these 4 misconceptions, to really work on our wrong views of seeing things that are by nature impermanent as permanent, seeing things that are, you know, that we mistake for happiness, which is our pleasure, seeing that they are actually in the nature of suffering, or that they lead to suffering, and, you know, mistaking things for pure that are not pure is like this contaminated body. And, you know, and then the last one, seeing a self where there is no self, or a separate self where there is no self. The thing is, just seeing it or just mistaking it, that wouldn't be such a problem, but we cling to it. We are attached to this, right? We are attached to things because we think that they are permanent. If we know that they're impermanent, when you buy fresh flowers, you will not kind of be depressed when they go, not even disturbed. You know, my computer is about to go out of his computer life, because also it's quite old already. So I'm surprised, and I'm kind of, not really disturbed, but I'm, you know, it's not the same as with the flowers. With the flowers, I know that they're impermanent. I know that they will go out of existence pretty soon. So then when I see it, it's no big deal. I just take them and I throw away. With things that I see as more permanent, or actually totally permanent, then, you know, we're surprised, isn't it? And we think it shouldn't be. This stupid camera should work. Why is it not working? I didn't do anything to it. But even though we don't touch the things, they in themselves, they have inbuilt that they are impermanent. And then we get attached to it. We're definitely attached to a separate I. We're definitely attached to our pleasures because, you know, or pleasures in sense of, yeah, pleasures, like it's pleasant when we touch something, when our senses touch something, sound, taste, smell, touch, then, and it brings a pleasant feeling, we think that the pleasant feeling is coming from the object, isn't it? That's how it looks, and we are convinced that it is. So we keep repeating. But what happens when you take the same object all the time? Question to you. When you take the same object, is the feeling of pleasantness, is it the same, or is it not the same?
I think it decreases slowly over time.
It decreases slowly. So when if we start to analyze, not just it decreases, what happens afterwards? First it decreases, then
it becomes a suffering.
Then it becomes unpleasant, and unpleasant is something that we call suffering and that we don't want. Pleasant is something that we call happiness and we want. So then what do? Instead of analyzing and instead of looking and thinking, hey, this object hasn't changed. Why is it, why is it that it doesn't give me the same feeling anymore if the feeling comes from the object? We don't analyze. What do?
Go to another object.
Exactly. We go to another object.
We change.
Change
the object.
Exactly. And then it's the same. At the beginning, it's pleasant, and then it becomes kind of boring, and then we throw it away. Can you imagine how your life would be if you would have to schlep around with you all the objects that you found pleasant from being a kid until now? If if you lose a toy as a child, did you have a favorite toy that if you couldn't find it or broke it or lose it, or, did you have this? Yeah, Yanai, and many of you are nodding. Where is the toy now? You still have it with you? Yeah. So you see, this is what renunciation is all about, by the way. Yeah. But we have renunciation for the wrong things. We have renunciation for objects that don't give us pleasure anymore. So we renounce all the time, by the way. So renunciation, what they call is the first step of entering the Buddhist path, is like we renounce objects that don't give us pleasure anymore. And sometimes it's even people, like it's friends or it's partners. Children, probably not, because with your children, there's this natural, almost probably, biological love. I don't know. But so we give away something and we take on something new. But what we should give away is the causes for suffering, not just the suffering, but the causes for suffering. So because when we change an object from giving us pleasure, when it changes from giving us pleasure to giving us displeasure, we change the object. So we are not changing the right thing. We should change our attitude, right? So we only exchange the suffering. We just renounce the suffering from this object giving me an unpleasant feeling, because boredom is also an unpleasant feeling. So we exchange, or we remedy the suffering, but we don't remedy the causes. So this is what the middle part of the Lam Rim is all about. I hope the camera will stay when I open the screen again. Not sure. We'll try, yeah. Okay, so thinking about perfect human rebirth, now we have the perfect conditions to practice these things, to listen to the teachings, to kind of analyze them, to think about them, to see whether it doesn't conflict with what we think or what we are convinced about, and then to meditate it or to internalize it. We need precious human rebirth. then we need to think about impermanence and death. We need to think about karma, that if we don't create the right conditions or the right causes, the right seeds to be reborn in another precious human rebirth, we will not be able to continue with the practice, because it takes a long time to change these attitudes. Yeah. So what we're renouncing on the first level is we're renouncing the suffering of the lower states, not just because we don't want to suffer, but because we want to continue with this path. And then, of course, you know, if you just renounce something because, oh, I don't want to suffer, that attitude is quite small and is very narrow and is very limited. Whereas if you renounce something for a bigger cause, then also the renunciation is not so painful, right? So also we're not giving up pleasure, we're giving up the causes for suffering. So pleasure is okay, you know. Nobody says that you shouldn't have any pleasure, but anybody knows or anybody remembers from teachings, when our senses touch an object, why does it produce a pleasant feeling? Do you remember from the teachings, anybody?
Our imprints.
Hmm?
Our imprints, good imprints.
Exactly, our karmic imprints. It's a positive karmic imprint ripening, which then gives a positive experience. Of course, it has to do with conditions and all this. So the object itself is not the cause for, it's not the cause for the pleasant feeling. It's just a condition. The cause for seeing it as pleasant is a previous action of the past that was wholesome. Yes, Yanai.
I just have a little story about this, because
nice, yeah.
just last night we were outside the house and my friend saw a little snake go by, and I'm afraid of snakes, so okay. I was like very scared. I was looking for it, but I was scared, and she was so excited. Like she was like, "I love snakes. I really like them. I want to see it." And it was just amazing to see the different reaction to the same object. Like for her, it was something fun, exciting. For me, it was like terrifying. So
yeah, right.
That's the imprints.
That's the imprint, exactly. The object is the same. It's the same snake. Yeah. Whereas so this is, you know, this is good to observe these things and then to at least go like, wow, because then it really starts to sink in. Then it's not just kept in the head and say, yeah. So every time you have a pleasant feeling, you should actually think, oh, great, positive karma ripening. Oh, means it's also exhausting itself, because karma exhausts itself by why it's ripened. So I better create some more. And whenever we have an unpleasant feeling, we go like, oh, you know, and we are disturbed or we don't like it, we go and say like, oh, it's like, it's an unwholesome karmic imprint ripening. Good thing, because then it's finished, because we know that karma increases, as we saw yesterday. So Lama Zopa very often says, we are having problems because we put the label happiness on the wrong things. Yeah, like we put the label happiness on objects outside. And we, for example, we put the label unhappiness on a situation that is really difficult. But because the object or the situation is just a condition, it's like it can change, it can be different. So, for example, and so this is why, you know, don't go like, oh no, I don't want to have any pleasures anymore, I'm just exhausting my positive karmic imprints. No, it's when you are relaxed and when you are experiencing pleasure and you understand pleasure, that pleasure is impermanent, it needs causes and conditions to arise, it's not the object. We can use it in our Dharma practice by really studying it, especially the impermanence, how when we keep the same object, how pleasure decreases. So because it's just the basis or the condition, pleasure can produce gratitude, for example, that we start to think about the people who have produced this object, or we start to have gratitude for somebody, as I said, that allows us to love them, because the feeling of love, especially if it's unattached love, it's just about the best thing that you can have, because it's peaceful, it's open, it's not demanding, it's free of fear. You feel yourself, you feel good. If it's not, you know, I want to possess the person. So this is what we're discussing today. What is the difference between love and attachment? Or what is attached love and what is pure love? So we can, you know, so it's a pleasant experience that we have when we think about the person or when we're together with the person. But if we don't want anything from that other person, it just produces gratitude. If we are attached, then there's a lot of things coming in. So a pleasant feeling can produce gratitude, but it can also produce attachment when we think that the feeling comes from the person or from the situation or from the object, right? So first we have to really kind of work with this intellectually. And then, as Yanai says, when we come to situations like this, you know, we see the same object at the same moment, at the same time, and it produces such different reactions, it cannot be the object. It has to be something different. And it has to be something internal. An unpleasant situation, pain, suffering, somebody harming you, it can produce anger, that is true. You see, if it would be the cause, so this is the argument, if it's the cause, if pleasure is the cause for attachment, it can only produce more attachment. And that's what it does when we don't observe it, yeah? But it can also produce gratitude, which is a wholesome attitude, because it's not the cause, it is just the condition or the basis, right? Somebody who harms you can become the cause for anger, but it's not the cause, it's just the condition for your anger, because somebody who harms you can also become a condition, let's say, for your practicing patience or compassion for the person by understanding him harming me now, my negative karma is getting exhausted. He is creating it. Yeah, so this is why it's a very important point that the Buddha is making, that the object is not the cause for your pleasant experiences. It is just the basis. It's the condition. Maybe condition is a better word. You need the object in order to bring out an emotion, or first the feeling and then the emotion, right? So these are two different things. Sometimes also it's very difficult to detect it because it goes very, very quick. The pleasant feeling and tuck, there's already, you know, when we go like, oh, wow, this is so wonderful, then it's good to just think, yeah, but it's, as we say, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. You know, it's not just Buddhism who says it, but Buddhism says it in a really explicit way. So we start to explore it. Yeah, and then of course, if the object becomes, because of the object we create attachment, and it becomes the cause for suffering. Yeah, so this is what we explore in the middle scope. It's like, why is it that I cannot live my values naturally because I have them, and I'm an intelligent person? Why can I not live them? Is because I have all these habits. And why is there all these unpleasant situations that I don't really like in my life that I would like to get rid of? And so that's how the Buddha started his teachings, by saying the first noble truths. Now here we have the lower scope still. And we come to the middle scope by saying the first noble truths of true suffering. And he said, hey, look, there is suffering. He didn't say you suffer, okay? He said there is suffering, and we can definitely agree to that. As we said yesterday, for us, even though we have such good conditions, it is very easy to feel stressed and frustrated. You know, most of the time, if you would do like one of these Kadampa masters, that he had black and white stones, And you would, you know, have white stones for your happy moments in just 1 hour maybe. And you have black stones for your worries, for your preoccupations, for your insecurity, for feeling bored, for, you know, unpleasant things. We can go easy, you know, like pleasant experiences, unpleasant experiences. And you would put black and white stones. You'll see at the end of the day how many white stones and how many black stones you have for everybody. And, you know, before we had Nagarjuna, and Nagarjuna also, he said like a few very simple, but very kind of clear things. And he said also very complicated things, I do admit, Nagarjuna. So, but for example, he said like one of the sayings when he talks about samsara, he said the low, like the poor, have physical suffering. The high have mental suffering. These two sufferings conquer the world every single day. And we can see that this is true. You know, people who are affluent and have good medical systems and this and that, we don't have so much. And here in Switzerland, the heating, you in Israel, the air condition, we don't have so much physical suffering. Because with our technology and knowledge and our money, we have managed to manipulate the outside world so that we should have lasting happiness, but it doesn't work because then we have mental suffering. We are afraid to lose it. We become actually quite weak. And we think that, you know, when the heating goes, I go like, oh, what I'm going to do in the winter. If your air condition goes, you go like, oh, what I'm going to do, what am I going to do in the summer, and these kind of things. We become totally dependent on these things, and then we can't live without it anymore. And with these outside objects, we are destroying the planet. This is what we're doing for something that doesn't even give us what we want, because we want lasting happiness. We don't want just temporary happiness and a bit of comfort. We want this comfort to give us lasting happiness, but it doesn't. And I think we can all agree that this is true. Unless if you think it's not true, then you can object and you can open your microphone and say so. Yeah, this is what it is. So this is what we have to understand, that even though the outside conditions are perfect, we still have then mental suffering, mental discontent. Let's say that, like the discontent. Okay, so he said there is suffering, and it has to be understood. It has to be understood, the suffering, because we understand the suffering of pain and we do a lot to get rid of it, but unfortunately only outside, in objects, in environment, and this and that. But we don't understand the noble truth of the true origin of suffering. This is why we only, you know, when we want to remove the suffering of pain, which is the first suffering, we just think we have to change outside conditions or make the body healthy again, and then the suffering is gone. So it has to be understood, and we will go into these different kinds of sufferings before the break, and has to be understood. And then he stated very clearly, I have understood it. Maybe let's look at that and look at the other one afterwards, the second noble truth. So he stated few different kinds of suffering. So the suffering of pain, this one we understand. What is the sign that we understand the suffering? Question to you, I'm waiting.
When we try to change it?
Exactly, when we want to get rid of it, when we try to change it. So the suffering of pain we have understood, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama always says, you don't have to be proud of this because every animal has understood this as well. So it's like, this is easy. And so we have to understand these other two sufferings also as dissatisfying. So there's the suffering of change, which is whatever we find pleasant, if it comes from contaminated causes and we don't see its nature. The moment we don't see the nature of it, it becomes contaminated. This is why our happy moments are contaminated, because we don't see their nature. So then it's called the suffering of change. Everything turns sour after a while. This is basically what it means. The most pleasant things, if it depends on contaminated objects, meaning when we don't see the emptiness of the object, or the real existence of the object, then it turns into pain. So what it means, when we enjoy an object and it's pleasant, and then it slowly, the pleasant feeling changes, and then it turns into unpleasantness, it means that this seed of unpleasantness must have already been there, because otherwise it couldn't change. Yeah, so, but we actually running after the suffering of change because we amass more and more and more objects of which give us pleasant feelings. And that can be objects, that can be people, and that can also be situations. Yeah. So to abandon that one, like not to seek pleasures anymore, you know, these worldly pleasures. If they come, it's fine. But not to seek them, that would be abandoning them. Doesn't mean not to, you know, to avoid pleasures. You cannot avoid pleasures the same way we cannot not avoid unpleasant feelings. If you have the karmic seed in your consciousness, if the object is outside, it's there, and it comes into contact, then a feeling will arise. You cannot avoid. We cannot avoid pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feelings. They're part of our makeup. It's one of the aggregates, actually, feelings or sensations. Yeah. So when we understand the suffering of change, we are not putting all our resources, all our energy, and all our knowledge in producing objects that give us a pleasant feeling. So this one is easy to understand intellectually, but because the habit is so strong to look for these worldly pleasures, because we need consolation, you know, otherwise life is too difficult. And I think this is why we don't have proper renunciation of samsara yet, because our life has a lot of good feelings in it. Yeah, we have a lot of positive karma ripening because we have very good conditions. Yeah, so then we don't really renounce. The suffering of pain we have renounced because it's painful. We don't want that. But the suffering of change, actually at the beginning, it does feel pleasant. That's the problem with this one. And then, as we just said, you know, Iris, I think, was saying it, we just change the object. Or and I was saying that. We just go and buy something different or get something different.
Anila, what about if the object of pleasure is from helping others? I'm just wondering, is that also change into suffering?
If you don't see the whole thing as it is, I think it will change into suffering, because you will expect that they also help you, or it becomes too heavy or too much, and you feel that you're being exploited because nothing comes back. If we understand that actually being there for others and helping others, that creates my causes and imprints to attain full awakening, then I don't think so. Yeah. So again, you know, it can vary, and it's good to discuss it, and it's good to look at it. It's good to, again, you know, because Buddhism is an experiential vehicle. You have to experience these things. Does it, you know, if you always help the same person, nothing comes back from this person. Does the joy of helping turn into suffering? You have to experience it. You have to see it. When it turns into suffering or unpleasantness or dissatisfaction, then you have to explore and to ask yourself, okay, what was my motivation? How do I see this thing? Because again, it's not the object, it's not the situation, it's not the person. It is your attitude towards it and your motivation. But I was just thinking, because I'm sitting here in the mountains again, and I see the snow mountain behind there, and I love snow. So it's like I'm asking myself, because I'm looking, it's the same mountain, although this mountain is also impermanent. But okay, I'm not looking at this the whole day. If I would probably look at this the whole day, I would also, the pleasure would also, of looking at it would also decrease. And also, I'm only here since 6 weeks, and I really love mountains. Yeah, so I wonder if it will decrease at one point, because every time I see it, and behind me I see the vineyards, and when the sky is blue like this, because I'm in southern Switzerland, my mind goes like, wow, right? So actually, for this not to turn into something unwholesome or unpleasant, what I could think, so that it becomes like the basis for contentment and gratitude, I can think, well, first thing, somebody gave me this apartment, which is like somebody made this nice studio. It's just a studio, but it's really beautiful and very convenient. So it's like somebody gave me this studio, somebody made this studio. So wow, thank you very much. See, then it goes into gratitude. Or I could think about my parents. Ooh, they have given me this body. They have given me the love for mountains, because we spent lots of time skiing in the mountains and climbing and walking and all this as kids. And they've given me this body, so with my eyes, I can perceive the snow mountain in the distance. Then again, it becomes the basis for gratitude. But I can see with the mountains, you know. Now, when we went to the mountains, of course, there were ski lifts, but that was about it. But now, when you look, all the machines that are in the mountains for people to enjoy the mountains, you know, the scooters, the sledges that even in the summer, that like they go on rails. What else? Then the people now they come with electrical mountain bikes to the mountains, and you know, it's like it's not just mountains anymore. So it seems as if for many people, just a mountain is not enough, and maybe this is also something that we learned, because all the people my age, yeah, maybe they go once on a scooter and then that's it, you know. But they still, for them, it's enough to go walking in the mountains in the summer and to go skiing in the mountains in the winter, people my age, because that's what we learned. So I think it's a good way to see how our habits and what came before, how that influences us. Now, the younger generation, they already had not just skis, but also snowboards and other kind of games and toys and things like that. It's very easy to ski with the new skis also, the carving, because they're more round in the front, but they're very fast. Yeah, so then there's lots of accidents, and you know, I shouldn't laugh because it's really not funny, because people go too fast. But with our skis, you really had to, I don't know if anybody of you has ever skied. You know, it looks very easy, but it's like surfing. It looks very easy, but it's very difficult. You really have to train. So with the skis we had, you had to know how to ski, because otherwise you would just fall all the time and there was no pleasure. So then also, even you went fast, you were able to control your skis. Yeah, so it's a little bit like this. So when we look at nature, it looks like as if nature is just pristine, like in your case, it's the beach and the sea and also the hills and the Galil, and, you know, it looks as if nature is able to give us a longer lasting pleasant feeling than objects that we call mine. Why do you think is that?
I think it's so vast. It's much bigger than us. It shows how small we are.
It shows me, yeah, it shows me reality. I'm small and I cannot control it. That's one thing. I cannot control nature. The moment we give up wanting to have control over the things, we relax and we just enjoy them. But also there's another thing. I don't call it mine. You see, if I have a piece of mountain that is mine and somebody goes there and I have put a big sign, private property, I get upset. And it shows my attachment. The moment I call it mine, I have this thing, this is mine, I have to protect it and this and that. And the moment somebody comes and doesn't respect it, then my pleasure is finished. Yeah, so I think this is why with nature, as long as we don't call it mine, the pleasure is pretty pure in a way, and maybe less, you know, it decreases less quickly. What do you think? What's your view on this?
Is it possible that nature is also karma print?
Nature is,
Karma print.
wait, I didn't understand. I think I have to turn on the, that's the, you said karma
Print.
and karmic imprint, whether we enjoy it or not.
Imprint.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So the love for mountains, I have learned from my parents. So that's the condition. I need to learn it somewhere. But also, you know, there is children who are dragged along by their parents to the mountains and they don't like it at all. So again, you know, it's like, I need somebody to teach me the love for mountains, which were my parents, but then whether that's going to work or not, that depends on my karmic imprint. Is this what you meant, Elisheva?
I meant the experience of the nature. We experience it. Is it a karma imprint?
Yeah, of course. Everything that we experience has to do with how we experience it is based on something previous. The same way as whether we experience it, you know, nature or other objects or person situations, the way we experience it depends on what karmic imprint is ripening. If it's a positive one, then we experience it as pleasant, but it's contaminated pleasure because it decreases and then it goes. If it is if it's a negative imprint, we experience it as suffering. Do you understand? Is that more or less clear? So it's not the object. I mean, nature is just another object, isn't it? It's not, you know, and also nature, a lot of nature is man-touched. Like, you know, if, don't know about the mountains, but if we would just leave the mountains as they are, especially the mountains which have tree, you know, there would be no houses, there would be no clearings. If there's a forest fire, nobody would clear the things, and there would be no path to go there because it would all be totally closed like that. So pretty much also nature is man-touched.
I mean, the existence of the sea, is it a karma imprint? The existence of the sea.
Are you asking me whether the mountain has karma? Or the tree has karma? Or
when I'm going to the beach every day, I'm swimming and everything. Yeah. Is it connected to not the thing that I'm choosing to do it, the fact that there is the sea for all of us?
Yeah. I don't like the sea. If I like water, I like to swim in a lake. I don't like the beach, for example. So again, it's not the beach. It's not the sea, you know, but it's not, we have a choice, you know. Karma is not that, oh, I have these karmic imprints, I'm only attracted to mountains and I will go to mountains and all this. That's not what it means, right? So we do have a choice, but we need to have created the choice also. Yeah, I need to have created the choice to be able to go to the beach. Is that a bit more clear? Or maybe I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Is it possible to have life without nature, without beach and animal and the mountains and
well, as long as our body has nutrition, I think so. But I mean, why are you asking this? I mean, it's like
because this is thing that I experience it very it's strongly existing there. It's not my choose to have a beach or sea. It's not depending on my karma, but you said everything is karma. So I asked Can it be that life will be without nature, without mountain, without, because
are you saying that at one point beings don't have karmic imprints anymore to have nature around them? Are you asking this?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, because there's hell beings, there's hungry ghosts who never find anything. They don't see nature, because you see, again, nature does not exist separate from our mind.
This is a illusion.
We perceive it as mountains. If I'm a fly, I don't perceive it as a thing that I can go skiing on, for example. I perceive it as something totally different because of the senses that we have. And the set of senses that we have, this is also karmic imprints who determine what kind of sets that we have. I can be a being, and being in the middle of nature, but not seeing nature. Yeah. I thought you were asking if we can exist without nature. And I was saying, yes, we can, but still, for the moment, all our nutritions come from Mother Earth. I don't know if at one point people are able to produce chemical food. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. I have no idea. And then we will find happiness somewhere else, according to our karmic imprints. Yeah, it's not that when I, there's no more mountains, there's no more beach, there's no more sea, that we will have no more happiness. If we still have karmic imprints for happiness, whatever objects are there, we find happiness. People find a lot of happiness spending the whole weekend in the shopping mall, for example. With these neon lights and all this, and they don't even buy anything. They don't need anything. They don't buy anything. They meet there. They have a lot of fun. So this is all to show that it doesn't really depend on the object. Is that clear? Yeah?
I have a question, please.
Yes?
We develop as a person, as a people.
Yeah.
And we change our what we want. Okay, what give us pleasure change because of that. So what is the connection for what we say before?
Well, we change the object and we think there's nothing wrong with it. But what we're doing, because we change the object, because we're trying to find lasting happiness, okay? Do we agree with this, that we're trying to find lasting happiness?
Yes.
Because you see, Elisheva, if you would have to spend 1 month, 24 hours every day on the beach and me in the mountains, the pleasure would also go. Yeah. So what we are saying, we're looking in the wrong place. So, it seems as, well, there's nothing wrong with changing objects, but look at us humans with our intelligence. We are destroying the planet. Just looking at worldly stuff, looking at the Dharma, why we are saying this is because we find the object, we experience pleasure, we enjoy it, we consume it, the pleasure decreases, then we create attachment and then disappointment, and then we create more karmic imprints for not finding what we want, meaning lasting happiness. In a simple way, what it means, we're looking in the wrong place.
May I say something?
Yes.
I think part, I'm not sure I'm right, that part of the fact that we're destroying the world is not only because we are always seeking for pleasure, in other places, it's also because we don't appreciate what we have and we abuse it.
Yeah, because we can't appreciate what we have because there's the suffering of change. This is part of samsaric existence, the suffering of change. So then we use our intelligence, instead of working with our attachments, we use it to produce more objects. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear. Maybe one of the more experienced Dharma practitioners can help me with this. Yeah. It is in our it is in our samsaric makeup that we cannot appreciate the same object over and over and over again. This is the nature of a samsaric mind. This is what the Buddha was saying. For us, this dissatisfied mind is normal.
Yeah, I think it's easier to explain it, to me at least. For example, why some people, like you buy shoes and they are still okay, and you go and buy another one and you don't really need it. Or you go to the shop and buy a lot of clothes and then come home and find out that you wanted perfect color and you maybe have 7, blouses with the same color.
Yeah.
So it's easier to explain with this, that we seek pleasure, we think we suffer, and then we go and buy something because it makes us, maybe joyful for like a second.
Right.
I don't understand that we are not satisfied is not because of the blouse, it's because something that we have inside us.
Exactly. So thank you very much. So that makes it very clear, Dina. Thank you so much. It's like we're looking in the wrong place, and then we get disappointed again and again and again and again. So there's a very nice example to this, and it's like, trying to find pleasure in object, situation, and persons, meaning outside. It can, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be trying to save the world and getting pleasure there. So it's not, we're trying not to judge people who try to find pleasure in shoes, but I'm trying to find pleasure in nature. It's like attachment is attachment. It doesn't mean what object. Some objects are more harmful than others, I do admit, but it's like attachment is attachment. So what attachment does, and we come to this, I think this afternoon or after the break, probably. Yeah, after the break, it distorts reality. It doesn't show us what is really there. So, of course, nature lovers, they think that my love for mountains is pure, but the love for shoes and blouses is not pure. It's the same, it's attachment. So it distorts, it produces more qualities in it than are there. And it definitely just, reflects that if I have the object or if I'm in the mountains, then that is the cause for my happiness. So this is what these delusions do. So as an example, they use this. We want lasting happiness. So it's a thirst. It's like thirst, because thirst is more strong than hunger. Yeah, it like thirst really bothers you much more than hunger, actually. So I don't know if you ever were thirsty, like for example, Yom Kippur, right? For those people who fast at Yom Kippur, you will have experienced, because again, you have to experience it. You are so thirsty that you're not hungry anymore. Have you experienced that? Yeah, you forget about your hunger because thirst is much more pressing than hunger. So we're thirsty and we're walking in the desert, and in the distance we see a Fata Morgana, and we don't know that it's just a reflection. We don't know that it's just a mirage. So what do? We're thirsty, so we're running, and we get there and there's no water. So the object that we consume is there, but not the lasting pleasure. So the lasting happiness. So the lasting happiness, peace of mind, contentment, whatever, that we are looking for, that is the Fata Morgana, not the object, but what it will give us. Okay, so as we run, we get more and more disappointed. So we see more and more Fata Morganas, by the way. This is why the more we consume, the more we become dissatisfied. This is why these people have to buy more and more shoes and more blouses. So instead of looking, why is it that these shoes are not giving me what I want? Then we just go and buy something else because it's easy to buy more shoes and this and that. Does that make sense? So this is the suffering of change. Something that we call happiness, like the second misconception. The first misconception was we see things that are impermanent as permanent. Intellectually, we know they're impermanent, but deep down, we're disappointed when they go out of existence. Yeah, that means we haven't understood. Second one, we see happiness where it's actually the cause of suffering, which is the pleasures. Yeah. Okay. So this is the second misconception that we have to understand. And this is what is called the suffering of change. It's kind of, you have to hear it a few times, I think, also, to understand what it means, why this is suffering. Yeah. It is suffering because every time we go and get something out of attachment, because we think it will give me lasting happiness, we create more imprints for dissatisfaction, more negative imprints. Yeah. This is why it is suffering. It's not suffering when we experience the pleasure, but it's suffering when the pleasure is gone. You see, all our moments of dissatisfaction, by the way, or all our moments of unhappiness, or many of our moments of happiness, is not because we never experienced something. It's because we have experienced something that was pleasant and now we don't have it anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because this is really quite a good thing also to see. The more things we have, and we will lose them all, the more we will suffer. And you can see, you know, when I look at very rich people, how they are afraid of losing this and that, and you know, they're much more worried about their things than people who don't have so much. It's amazing. And this fear of losing comes from attachment, because attachment thinks the happiness comes from this. Like, you know, quite a drastic example, and it's quite painful, just example actually, because there was a king and his son died and he was not unhappy. He was a Buddhist king, can't remember his name. And then the people were very surprised and they said, your son has died, why are you not unhappy? And he said, well, I wasn't unhappy when he was not in my life. Before he was born, I loved him very much. I appreciated him very much, but now he's gone. So why should I be unhappy? I can just appreciate that he was in my life for these numbers of years. That would be wisdom. And I used this example with a friend of mine when her husband left her. And it wasn't very clever because she got so angry at me. Because I said, look, when I got to know you, you didn't know him because we were quite young and we went to nightclub and all this. And then she met him and then they fell in love, they got married. And so I said, before you knew him, you also had a very nice life and we were having fun and all this. Now he's gone. So why do you think you, because she said, I can't live without him, right? And she got angry. She said, you don't understand what this means. And blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, I know I don't understand because I never had partners that I was attached to. It was always me separating. So because I got fed up hurting them, I stopped having partners actually, because it's not a nice thing when you leave somebody that still wants to stay with you. This is horrible also for the one who leaves, by the way. In case you were left behind and your partner left you, try to think about suffering also of the person who leaves. Because you're the victim, you know, everybody has like compassion for you. If I'm the one who is leaving him, who's dumping him, people get angry at me. I never got any compassion when I left my partners. So anyway, so I said, yeah, I know I don't understand because also I don't have attachment to people like this. But you will see in 2 years, it will be more or less okay. After 2 years, she came and she said, wow, you were right. It's okay. I can live without him. Now she's had another partner and she left Switzerland. She's from Spain. She lives in Spain and she's very happy. So it's like, but if you hold on to this thought and you never think, but I've had happy moments when he was not in my life, and you hold on to this thought, I cannot live without him, you will be unhappy until the rest of your life. So of course, she got angry at me when I said that, but maybe it woke up something in her that was more realistic than what she was thinking. And then slowly, the pain healed. And even if you don't hear this, that the pain will heal, very often it heals if we allow the pain to heal. if we don't hold on to this kind of victim syndrome. Yeah. Okay, now we have to go a little bit fast through these other sufferings, because as the Buddha says, you know, this is suffering, and suffering has to be understood. We have to understand the suffering of change. We have to understand that the happiness is not coming from the object outside. Yeah. And then it's the all-pervading conditioned suffering. This is even more difficult to understand as a suffering. It means, shortly speaking, having these 5 contaminated aggregates. You see what it is? It's this one, all-pervading conditioned suffering. All-pervading means if you put ink into a glass of water, the whole water will become blue and you cannot take it out anymore. You know, this is it. It's all-pervading, it's everywhere. And conditioned, the conditions are our wrong views. Suffering means we carry with us, with these body and mind that we have, 24 hours a day, during our whole existence, the potential from being very happy to just change into suffering when the conditions outside change, and sometimes not even the conditions change. And you can see that when you are in a long retreat. I don't know, Orit has done long retreats, I know. I don't know about others, maybe Valda as well. And long retreat, I'm talking about at least 2 weeks, at least. I'm not talking about 2 days, yeah? And you do the same session with the same sadhana in the same room when you do individual retreat. There's no other people, or when it's other people with the same people, and you have moments where you're totally elated and you go like, wow, I want to do this until the end of my days. And you have moments when you go like, oh, when is this finished? Orit, can you agree to that?
Definitely.
Exactly. So this is it.
It's also changed. In the beginning, most of the time, the thought is, when is it going to finish, or lunch or dinner, or to do something else than the session. And as long as the retreat goes on, then you want to be more in the session and to make it longer and longer.
Right, because your mind becomes calmer and calmer and calmer, and it doesn't project anymore. Being outside is happiness. Here, this is suffering. I'm alone and it's boring and all this. It doesn't project anymore, and it doesn't project into the food, because you start to see, there's no happiness there, so why do I long for it? You know, it kind of calms the longing for somebody to cheer me up, and you learn to just to be happy and to be content in a long retreat. Yeah, that's a very good observation, that it, you know, the feeling of being content, not excited like, wow, this is great, but very calm and very peaceful and very open. That comes after a while. But you have to break through the boredom. And that's painful. That's really painful. So you can either change your, you know, your furniture around all the time, and or you just sit and you bear the pain of being bored, and then it can heal. Painful. It's painful not to follow Shempa. It's called Shempa. You know, this pull to reach out to some object that can make you feel better, but to find the remedy inside. Okay, so you can use it. We're going to make a break now. And again, we make a break until what? 1/4 past. So we have 25 minutes break. So now use it. And look, you will go away from your computer. Now you were quite concentrated, listen to me. So there was no Shempa, unless you feel really bored about what I'm saying. But if you were kind of happy and content and listening and entertained in a way also. So now look where your Shempa is pulling you. You go there, you take it, whatever it is, you know, and first you stop a moment, you know, maybe you turn off the camera, you stand up, and then you go, okay, where's the pull? Where is it pulling me? And you observe, and then you go and you consume it, and then you go, now what? Or first, maybe there's the pull. Why am I being pulled there? What am I seeking? What am I looking for? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do this exercise in the break? This is the practice now, not just listening to the teachings, but really trying it out. Is there an energy? Is there a force that pulls me or pushes me somewhere? And then say, no, I'm just going to watch my mind. I'm not going to drink, eat, look at the mountains, whatever, open my phone. That's a good one. Not going to, is my Shenpa going to the phone? No, I'm just going to sit quietly or even lie down or walk up and down or go out for some fresh air for these 25 minutes. Try it out, okay? Okay, so see you again at the 11:15. Thank you. I'm leaving